Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Spencer Pauly. Joining me today is the Center Square's investigative reporter, TJ Martinell. Now, TJ, you recently wrote a story titled Washington Department of Transportation Claims $11 billion Backlog of Infrastructure Projects. Now, we're talking a lot of money here. Did WSDOT anticipate this?
They've been talking about this problem for several years, and they use the phrase glide path toward failure to describe the situation. And what's going on is these aren't projects that the legislature mandated or directed to them to do. These are maintenance and preservation. So this is maintaining the existing infrastructure. And what they're referring to are projects where they need to repair or replace bridges, roads, repair, potholes or whatever. And they're not being done because they don't have the money to do it. So they have to prioritize which projects are the most important or the most vital, and if they have the money to do it.
I feel like there's some other revenue sources that the state has used in the past. I'm thinking of the state's Climate Commitment Act. How much money did that gather?
So that's almost generated $1 billion, or I believe more than that, and it's been in effect for less than a year. And what's interesting is, in a recent presentation to the Washington State Transportation Commission, WSDOT officials talked about the infrastructure funding issue, but they didn't come up with any proposed solutions as far as new revenue or new funding sources. But what is also interesting is the State County Road Administrative Board is proposing or asking for possible funding from the Climate Commitment Act because it's having funding issues as well.
Really? I think about, Washington State has ambitious plans to electrify its infrastructure. Does this backlog, really hinder some of its goals to reach certain, greenhouse gas emissions for some of its roads and whatnot by certain years? I'm assuming that this backlog affects that, right?
Yes. And the other issue is that the Climate Commitment Act does spend money on transportation, but a lot of it's on transit and a lot of it is on new projects. So it's not going to be going towards a lot of maintenance as much as it's going towards other stuff. So it's going to be interesting when they finally have to replace these bridges or have to fix these roads just to make them usable. And the backlog means that there's going to be more and more and more projects over the years. And so it's interesting how the state's investing in a lot of new transportation projects, but there's the existing infrastructure that needs to be maintained, and it's not getting the money. According to WSDOT, it's not getting the money that it needs.
Right. Well, can you give me some examples of some of the capital projects that are backlogged?
Yeah, there's 16 bridges that are in need of replacement and 36 more need, quote, major rehabilitation. Then there's 40% of WSDOT buildings are considered to be in poor condition for a variety of reasons. A lot of them are just outdated or are not up to modern building standards because more than 40% of their buildings are more than 50 years old. So a lot of old buildings. And then there's the Palouse River and Cooley City rail line. It's the longest short line freight rail system in Washington. It's considered in poor condition. On 80% of that line, trains travel no faster than 10 miles per hour.
Wow. Because of the conditions of the tracks and whatnot?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm assuming that, there's similar underfunding challenges for road maintenance happening at a county level.
Yeah, there's the Rural Arterial Program that's used to fund road and bridge reconstruction projects, and counties can submit applications for them. And so every biennium, that program gets about $190 million worth of applications. So $190 million worth of projects that are being requested funding, but they only have enough revenue to finance $50 million. So we're talking a quarter of what the demand.
Overall, I'd like to know, what is, the State Road Administrative Board advocating for here with all this going on?
They're the ones that are advocating for possibly getting funding from the Climate Commitment Act. And they're also looking at if the state ever implements a road usage charge program to replace the state gas tax, they want to get a piece of that action as well.
Well, it seems like this is going to be an issue that the state will see later down the road for sure.
It's also, some people might consider it ironic that at a time when Washington drivers are paying such a hefty price at the gas station to fill up their cars, the existing infrastructure is in need of money.
Well, listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For TJ Martinell, I'm Spencer Pauly. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.